Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Francesco Sguanci. I'm the Chief Data Scientist here at Dunn Solutions, and I would like to welcome you all to today's webinar, How to Make More Money by Optimizing Your Pricing Strategy. Now, the agenda for today, I want to go through a brief round of introductions. Then I would like to talk about the difference between the optimal retail price and the optimal TPR, temporary price reduction. Then I want to talk about the concept of price elasticity modeling and how it applies to all of your pricing needs. And I would like to go through a real case study, Pez Office Supplies. Dunn Solutions is a digital commerce and business transformation consultancy. We have been around for about 30 years. We are headquartered in Chicago, but we also have offices in Minneapolis and Bangalore, India. Dunn Solutions delivers velocity to business. Now, back to Physics 101, you'll remember that velocity is really made up of two components. One is direction and one is speed. And we provide direction through our analytics services, and we provide speed by helping our clients automating their business processes. When we bring all these components together, we refer to them as the virtuous cycle. So whether it's our analytics services, whether it's descriptive or more predictive and prescriptive modeling, that those services provide the direction to our clients, and then our marketing automation services provide the speed to market, and finally our expertise in e-commerce implementation kind of closes the loop to this perpetual cycle. But now, as I said, enough with the introduction, I would like to go back to the main topic of today's presentation, which is how do I make more money by optimizing my pricing strategy? So the first thing that I said I was going to talk about was the difference between everyday's price, or what I call the retail price, and what I call the promotional price or temporary price reduction. So the optimal retail price is the sustainable, and that's really the important word right here, sustainable price point that delivers the highest profit for you as the retailer. Now, market dynamics are always changing, and what is the optimal retail price for your products today may not be the same a year from now. Hence, what I call the never-ending quest of reoptimizing your price. You should always go through that exercising of reoptimizing your pricing strategy. Now, that point brings me to the next 3 points. The real optimal price should never affect negatively your brand equity. You have to remember that pricing communicates some kind of brand value to your consumers. Also, the optimal retail price should earn you a desired profit at the category level. So not for just a few products at the expense of other products in the category, but for the entire category. And the optimal price level will never trigger price wars with your competitors. Now, on the other hand, the optimal temporary price reduction, or the optimal promotional pricing, if you will, is the unsustainable price point that will allow you as a retailer to maximize a short-term, sometimes I refer to them as short-lived, specific goal. Now, I'm not suggesting that temporary price reductions are not important. In fact, discounting is very important, and mainly for these 4 reasons. Let's say you have a new product or a new category and you want to increase market share, then perhaps you want to attract new customers by giving a low price as an incentive to try out your product. Now, in the case of special events, so let's face it, you don't have to have a Black Friday sale, but if you don't and everybody else is having it, what's going to happen is that you're going to send some of your in-store and online traffic the way of your competitors, and that's not really a good idea. You might want to use promotional pricing to build impulse for items that are often purchased together. So let's say that occasionally it's okay to sell a power drill at cost, in the hope that people will also buy the drill bits. And finally, sometimes you need to discount your items to get rid of excess inventory. We think that we have to realize we're not the only ones selling services and our products. If the global demand for our products or category decreases or changes, then we might end up with more inventory at hand than we had anticipated or forecasted. And lowering our prices is a way of getting rid of it. So now that we've talked about pricing, what are the general approaches to pricing? Now, there's more than 4, but usually there are variations of these 4 main approaches. So the first one is primary research. Now, surveys. So the insights that you gain from this method are usually self-reported, and they're not really based on actual purchasing behavior. Now, there are other approaches based on the PSM. It's the price sensitivity meter. It's basically another survey method where a pool of respondents are asked the same 4 questions, and then the cumulative frequencies of the responses are charted, and the charts provide a way of coming up with a range of acceptable price ranges. Now, the problem with this methodology, is that it doesn't take into account revenue, profit, or demand at all. Now we have conjoint analysis. Now, this would be my methodology of choice for new products, but definitely not for existing ones. This is also the one that mimics the way that humans actually think, that make purchasing choices by weighing the importance of some product attributes over others. But again, if you think about this, it's really not the consumer freely choosing in a real economic settings. These are a set of choices that you feed them basically, and they just answer yes or no. Now, on the other hand, the last one, the elasticity modeling, it's my preferred methodology, and the one that I'm going to be talking about today, uses real transactional data, so data from transactional databases, which truly represent consumer responding to a real choice in a real economic setting. Now, not only does elasticity modeling help with you setting the optimal everyday retail price, it also helps with you setting the promotional price when you have to. So elasticity modeling can help with with the following tasks. One, it can help you separate the category products that should never be discounted from those that are okay to discount once in a while. Now, it will help you by not leaving any money on the table. Say that we can I can prove to you that a 21% discount will clear the inventory. Why would you want to offer a 25% discount instead and leave 4% on the table? And finally, it will help you by not training your customers to purchase only using discounts. And I call that the Bed Bath & Beyond effect. I said that discounting is important once in a while, and we've talked about the reasons why discounting is important, but the problem is that retailers usually end up discounting too much, and they know it. They just can't wean themselves off of that drug. So what's elasticity modeling based on? It's based on the concept of elasticity. Elasticity is a metric that quantifies the change in the quantity demanded of your product to a change in price. Now, this is a it's a little simplified, but generally speaking, elastic products are replaceable and not necessities. So if the price goes up, people stop buying altogether, or maybe they look for alternatives. A good example could be Coca-Cola. If the price goes up, it's on sale, you might stock up. And if, I'm sorry, if it goes down, you might stock up. If it goes up, well, it depends. You might decide to buy Pepsi instead. Now, inelastic products are usually more essential. They're not very easy to substitute, at least not in the short term, and a change in price doesn't really affect how much people buy, or at least it doesn't affect it greatly. And I put the example of milk and eggs. If you have a big family, great if you can get milk at 80 cents for 80 cents, but at 2.40 if you need it, you'll still buy it. Usually the best example would be medicine, to be honest. If the price of medicine goes down, you don't buy more medication because it's cheaper. It just doesn't work that way. So if elasticity is a metric, it means that it involves a formula. It can be calculated. It's not about guesswork. One of the many techniques, and you've probably heard of this technique over and over, is regression analysis. Now, regression analysis, I don't want to go into too much detail, but basically it's a function of, it's a formula that models your historical quantity as a function of your historical prices. And there are many software packages out there that will calculate that B1, and that B1 will be a number that is very easy to interpret because it represents how elastic your products are. So let's say, let me give you an example. If that number were 3.8, you would say my product is at this price point, my product is very elastic. A decrease of 1% in price will increase my sales by 3.8%. If that number were 1, you would say, well, a decrease of 1% in price at this price point will only increase my sales by about the same, 1%. And if that B1 were below 1, let's say 0.48, you would say that your product at the current price is inelastic. So decreasing the price by an additional 1% will only increase your sales by an additional 0.48%. So this is a very robust methodology. There are many versions of many more sophisticated formulas, and it's backed by a lot of empirical research. So the question is, why is it still so underused? Well, and the answer is that it's difficult. There is no such thing as one elasticity measure. Price elasticity, even for the same product, is dynamic. So it's changing. It can be changing over time or across certain segments. So going back to our Coke example, elasticity might be different for different consumer segments. The loyal customer, the person that is really loyal to the Coca-Cola brand, may be more price insensitive and so may not care about a price increase, whereas the occasional or infrequent purchaser of Coca-Cola products might be more price sensitive, and if the price goes up, they might switch to Pepsi. There are also, elasticity can change based on changes in economic trend, based on competitors' responses. We're not the only ones selling products. If I lower the price of my products, but my competition does the same, does it affect my elasticity? We have to take that into consideration. And the other big one is really the seasonality of the product itself. So customer sensitivity to price changes for a certain product can be completely different at different times of the year. So for example, I might be more price insensitive right now for Christmas ornaments, meaning that even if you raise the price a little bit, I might still buy it because it's Christmas, whereas in January, you might have to lower your price substantially for me to buy Christmas ornaments. Now, given all these problems, let's see how it all comes together in a real case study, what the problems were and how we solved them using predictive analytics. So the case study is about Pad's office supplies, with appointment books averaging $23 was Pad's pricing itself out of the market. Now, let me give you a little bit of background on this client. Pads is a manufacturer and distributor of office products and supplies, but they also sell direct to consumer through their e-commerce website, and they make about $10 million per year in revenue. The best-selling category is appointment books, of which you can see a picture here at the bottom. And that category had been experiencing declining sales for the last 3 years. Now, given that the average of appointment books, the average selling price was $23, which is much higher than mass merchandisers like Walmart or Target and Amazon, was it possible that Pads was pricing itself out of the market? So were they selling for too much on their website? Is that why their sales were declining? Now, the fourth quarter of the year, which is by far the biggest in revenue, was approaching. So their strategy was reducing the price across the entire category by a flat 20%. Now, before they did that, they hired Dunn Solutions to investigate whether or not the strategy was a good one. So what did we do for them? Well, the first thing that we did, we took the approach that I was describing. I took their transactional data and I built an elasticity model that calculated the price elasticity of every single product in the appointment books category. So roughly about 87 products, meaning that appointment books are different by size, by color, by style, what have you. Now, we automated and we kept this model very flexible so that we could look at it from many different angles, and you'll see why this is really important. Now, the first thing that we did, we averaged all the elasticities to see what the average elasticity for the appointment books category was. Now, according to our model, you can see that this chart represents the elasticity of the appointment books. At the price that they were selling at, 23, our model estimates the elasticity to be about 1.7. So it means that for every additional 1% discount, you could generate 1.7% in incremental revenue. So it makes sense that you could lower the price, right? Now, according to our model, the optimal point where the elasticity is exactly 1 would be around 18. If you remember what I said, they were thinking about slashing the price about 20%, which would be around 19. So roughly, if you just look at it this way, it sounds like the decision was directionally right. 19 is not much different from 18, right? So did we just prove that what they wanted to do was the right strategy going into the biggest quarter of the year? Well, the answer is nah. No, not really, because then we looked at the elasticity by quarter of the year and we noticed something that is completely different. While people are really price sensitive in the first quarter and second quarter and third quarter, they are price insensitive in the fourth quarter, which kind of makes sense. If you are in October of 2019 and you want to buy an appointment books, which is a dated product, right, for 2020, well, this is the time to do it. Even if I raise the price a little bit, if I really want it, I'll buy it now. Whereas in January or February or March, why would I buy the old edition unless you really give me an incentive to do so? So it appeared that lowering the price from the current $23 in quarter 4 would only eat into the profitability of the category. So what we did, we took into account seasonality and we reran the optimization, and we calculated the optimal price point for every single category for that specific quarter. Now that means that we might have lowered the price of some items, but generally speaking, we actually increased the price of most items in the appointment books categories. this is eventually what we recommended to our clients. We said, you are selling for this, you should be selling for this at this point. You're selling for this, you should be selling for this. And we gave them the exact price point that would optimize their profit for every single item in the category. Now, when we averaged our recommendation, what we actually told them is that do not lower your price. In fact, if you follow our recommendations, you'll end up charging $1 more on average than you are charging right now. Now, if we're right, then increasing the price, not lowering it, is the right way to go. But how do we know for sure that our recommendation was the right one? Well, we put the model results to the market test. So of the 87 products, we took 60 of them and we applied our optimal price, the one that we recommended. And we kept 27 lookalike products, and we lowered the price to $19, which is what our client wanted to do originally. And then we waited for sales to come in, and then we compared the two groups. Now, what happened is that in our test group at the recommended price of 24, unit sales went down, which is to be expected, which is exactly what we expected. Whereas, in the control group at $19, well, they sold a little more units than the previous year. Great, but the point is that in our test group, profit went up 1%, whereas their profit in the control group, the items that sold at 19, went down 6.3%. So actually, we should be credited for overall savings of 7.7, because not only did we stop them from losing 6.3, at least for 60 products, we also made an additional 1% on top of that. So in conclusion, what is the lesson learned today? Optimal pricing and discounting is essential to remain profitable, but is very seldom adopted or not done correctly. Now, predictive modeling can help you with optimal pricing because it models real choices made by consumers in a real economic environment. However, predictive modeling without a holistic view of each unique business model can lead to margin erosion. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this webinar, and please contact us if you have any additional questions or if you want a free pricing optimization strategy assessment. Now, what we include in the assessment, I will talk to you about how you use analytics currently, what data you're collecting, what your needs are, and then we'll develop a comprehensive strategy based on the data that you already have, and we'll prepare a formal presentation for you where we can present what we can do for your organization to increase your profit margins. And with this, I will conclude the webinar, and thank you so much for your attention, and I hope you'll join me for the next one.